I want to tell you about a tourist I saw last Tuesday.
Tell me.
She arrived in the morning, sat near my rock, and for about an hour, she just stared at her phone, scrolling, not reading anything carefully, not laughing, not reacting much, just scrolling. And when she finally put it down, she looked more tired than when she picked it up.
And then?
She picked it up again.
Of course she did.
And I sat there thinking, she knows. She knows this isn't making her feel better. She can feel it, and she's doing it anyway.
Welcome back to the Primate Podcast, your slow English podcast for real-life conversations. I'm Zara.
I'm Bob, and today we are asking one of the most human questions there is.
Why do we love things that are bad for us?
Not just phone scrolling. The late nights when you know you need sleep, the food that makes you feel heavy afterwards, the relationship you knew wasn't right from the beginning, the habit you said you'd stop 3 times already.
This is a B1 to B2 episode, but honestly, this question belongs to everyone. Don't worry if you don't catch every word. Stay with the feeling. The English will come naturally.
Comment below. What is one thing you know is bad for you, but you keep going back to anyway? Write it. No judgment. We all have one.
Okay, let's start with the brain, because I think once you understand what is actually happening up there, the behavior starts to make a lot more sense.
And stops feeling like a personal failure.
Exactly, because the first thing to understand is your brain is not trying to hurt you. Your brain is trying to help you. It's just using a very old system that wasn't designed for the modern world.
Tell me more.
So the brain has a reward system. When you do something that feels good, eat something sweet, hear something funny, get a message from someone you care about, your brain releases a chemical called dopamine. And dopamine doesn't just make you feel good, it makes you want to do that thing again.
So dopamine is not really about pleasure. It's about wanting.
Exactly. And this is the part that surprises people. Dopamine is released before the reward, not during it. It's the anticipation. The reaching for the phone before you see what's there, the smell of the food before the first bite, the moment before, not the moment of.
Which is why the reaching feels so compelling. And sometimes the thing itself is slightly disappointing.
Yes, you scroll for 20 minutes and feel worse than before, but the brain already got its hit from the anticipation, and it files that experience as, that felt good. Do it again.
That is a beautiful trap.
It really is, and it was designed in a much older version of the world to keep us alive. Seek food, seek connection, seek warmth. The system worked perfectly when the rewards were things we actually needed. The problem is, now we have engineered things that hit that same system much harder than anything in nature. Sugar, more concentrated than any fruit. Screens designed by teams of people whose entire job is to keep you reaching for more.
So the brain is running ancient software in a world that has been specifically redesigned to exploit it.
And once you understand that, the self-blame starts to ease a little. You are not weak for loving things that aren't good for you. You are human, with a very old brain in a very new world.
But I want to add something, because I think there's another layer that doesn't get talked about enough.
What's that?
A lot of the things people go back to, they don't actually love the thing. They love what the thing does for them in a particular moment.
Say more.
The late night scrolling. It's not really about the content. It's about delaying the moment of being alone with your thoughts. The extra drink. Sometimes it's not about enjoying the drink. It's about softening something that feels too sharp without it. The food at midnight. Not really hunger. More like a small act of comfort when the day was too much.
So the bad thing is doing a real job, just not the job it looks like from the outside.
Exactly. It is managing something. It is solving something.
temporarily, imperfectly, but solving it. And the brain knows that, and so it keeps returning, because the need that the thing is meeting, that need is real.
Which means the solution is rarely just stop doing the bad thing.
Right, because if you take away the thing without addressing the need is still there, looking for a new exit.
And I think this is one of the most compassionate things you can do for yourself. When you notice a habit you don't like, instead of just trying to stop it with willpower, ask what need it is meeting. What is it doing for you? What would you be feeling if the thing wasn't there? Because that feeling is the actual thing that needs attention. Okay, I want to talk about something that I think explains a lot of specific cases, and that is the role of familiarity.
Familiarity?
We're drawn to what we know, even when what we know isn't good for us, because familiar feels safe, even when it isn't, and unfamiliar feels dangerous, even when it's actually better.
This one I see very clearly in tourists. They come here, beautiful place, different air, total freedom, and a significant number of them spend the first day recreating their home routines. Same coffee order, same music, same habits, in a completely new environment. Because new is uncomfortable, even when new is exactly what they came for.
Because the brain reads familiar as survived this before, and it reads unfamiliar as unknown risk. So even a bad familiar can feel more comfortable than a good unfamiliar.
Which explains why people stay in situations they know aren't right. The job that drains them, the dynamic that hurts them. Because leaving, even for something better, means going into territory the brain has no record of surviving.
And the brain is very conservative about survival. It would rather keep you in a known discomfort than risk an unknown one.
Familiar pain has a strange kind of comfort.
It does. And once you name that, once you can see that the pull back to something bad is partly just the pull toward the known, it starts to feel less like weakness and more like a system doing exactly what it was designed to do.
There is one more thing I want to talk about, and this one is the most honest.
What's that?
Sometimes the thing isn't entirely bad, and the guilt around it is doing more damage than the thing itself.
Say that again.
The late night, the extra piece of chocolate, the hour doing absolutely nothing productive. These things are not emergencies, but sometimes people treat them like moral failures, and the shame and the guilt and the "I did it again," that weight is sometimes heavier than the actual cost of the thing.
So the relationship with the thing becomes more damaging than the thing.
Yes, and I watch tourists do this with food constantly. They eat something they decided was bad, and then they spend the rest of the afternoon feeling guilty about it. And the guilt costs them far more than the food did.
Because the guilt doesn't undo the thing. It just adds suffering on top of it.
And it often triggers more of the same behavior, because guilt creates stress, and stress activates the exact same system that reaches for comfort. So the cycle continues, not because of the thing, because of how you feel about the thing.
And I want to be careful here, because I'm not saying nothing matters. Some things genuinely need attention. Some habits really do cause harm over time and deserve honest consideration. But there is a difference between honest awareness and relentless self-punishment. And the second one, the relentless kind, rarely produces real change. It mostly produces more of what it's trying to stop. So what does actually help? Because I think people need something real, not just understanding why, but what to actually do.
First thing, and this one is simple but underused, increase the friction between you and the thing.
What do you mean?
The brain reaches for the easy option, so make the bad option slightly harder to reach. Phone in another room instead of on the nightstand. Don't keep the thing in the house if the house is where you lose control of it. Put one small obstacle between you and the automatic reach. Not a wall, just a pause. because a pause is often enough.
Because the pull is often not that strong. It's just instant. And if you add even 10 seconds of friction, sometimes the pull passes on its own.
And the second thing, and this connects to everything we said about needs, find something that meets the same need but costs less.
Not replace the behavior with nothing. Replace it with something that does a similar job.
If the late-night scrolling is about avoiding your own thoughts, the replacement is not just don't scroll. It's what would help you be with your own thoughts more comfortably. A walk, writing something down, sitting outside for 5 minutes, something that addresses the actual need.
And the third thing, this one is the most important.
What's that?
Be patient with yourself, because these patterns were not built in a day, and they will not change in a day. And the expectation that they should, that willpower alone should be enough to override a system that has been operating for years, that expectation is part of the problem.
Change is slow and messy, and it goes backwards sometimes, and that is normal. That is what change actually looks like, not a straight line. A complicated, imperfect, gradually shifting pattern.
And the version of yourself that keeps returning to the thing you're trying to change, that version is not broken. That version is human, doing its best with a very old brain in a very complicated world.
And understanding that, really understanding it, is not an excuse. It is the beginning of something kinder, and kinder tends to work better than harder.
Okay, word tour, let's go. 10 words from today. Bob reads slowly and clearly. Everyone, repeat out loud.
Ready, let's go.
1. Craving. Crave-ing. A powerful desire for something, stronger than a simple want, almost physical in its pull. The craving for sugar is stronger in the evening because the brain is looking for quick energy. A craving is not a command, it is a signal, and signals can be read without being obeyed. Repeat. Craving. Crave-ing.
2. Dopamine. Dopamine. A chemical in the brain connected to motivation and reward, released when we anticipate or receive something pleasurable. Dopamine is released before the reward, not during, which is why the reaching feels so good. Many modern products are specifically designed to trigger dopamine responses. Repeat. Dopamine. Dopamine.
3. Compulsive. Come, pull, sieve. Done repeatedly and with difficulty stopping, driven by an inner force rather than a conscious choice. She checked her phone compulsively even when she knew there was nothing new. Compulsive behavior is usually meeting a need. The question is, which one? Repeat. Compulsive. Compulsive.
4. Familiarity. Fa-mil-ya-ri-ti. The quality of being well known, the comfortable feeling of something you have experienced before. The familiarity of a bad habit can feel safer than the uncertainty of something better. We often choose familiarity over quality because the brain reads familiar as survived. Repeat. Familiarity. 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 5. Indulge. Indulge. To allow yourself to enjoy something, especially something you wouldn't normally permit yourself. She indulged in one slow morning a week, and it changed how the rest of her week felt. Indulging occasionally and without guilt is very different from using something to escape. Repeat. Indulge. Indulge. 6. Trigger. Trigger. Something that causes a reaction, a situation, feeling, or moment that sets off a pattern or behavior. Stress was his trigger. Whenever the pressure got too much, the old habit returned. Knowing your triggers doesn't remove them, but it gives you a moment of choice before the automatic response. Repeat. Trigger. Trigger.
7. Moderation. Shun. Using or doing something in amounts that are reasonable. Not too much, not too little. Most things that feel bad in excess are fine in moderation. Moderation is harder than abstinence for some people and easier for others. Knowing which you are matters. Repeat. Moderation. Moderation. 8. Willpower. Willpower. The ability to control your own behavior, especially when resisting something tempting. Willpower is a limited resource. It depletes throughout the day. Relying on willpower alone is much harder than changing the environment that makes the choice easier. Repeat. Willpower. Willpower.
9. Habit. It. A behavior done so regularly it becomes automatic, happening without conscious thought. The habit wasn't chosen, it was built, slowly through repetition. To change a habit, you need to understand what need it is meeting, not just the habit itself. Repeat. Habit. It.
10. Compassion. Compassion. A feeling of warmth and understanding towards suffering, including your own. She approached her own bad habits with compassion instead of judgment, and it changed everything. Self-compassion is not an excuse for bad behavior. It is the foundation that makes real change possible. Repeat. Compassion. Compassion.
10 words. All about what drives us and what can help us understand ourselves a little better. Repeat them tonight, and then think of one thing you keep returning to, and instead of judging it, ask it a question. What are you doing for me?
Episode 14. Done.
We talked about dopamine and why the brain reaches for things that feel good even when they cost something. We talked about how bad habits are often meeting real needs, about familiarity and why the known feels safer than the better, and about the damage that guilt adds on top.
And we talked about what actually helps: friction, replacement, and patience.
Comment below. What is one thing you know isn't great for you, but you understand a little better after today?
We read everything.
Subscribe to the Primate podcast. New episodes every 2 days. From the studio, I'm Zara.
I'm Bob. Don't be a parrot. Parrots repeat. Primates understand.